4th.
And I became a citizen, me and my children. The American government there, they give me food stamp, they give me Medicaid, I have the job, I got home. So I thank God for America.
Making a new life here isn't easy for Liberian refugees, but it's the youth who are probably struggling the most.
The community has been very concerned about the challenges facing their kids. And in the years that we've been working here, they've identified that as the major problem, that there's really a crisis here.
Our culture advocates respect for elder. Kids don't ask parents questions when they are told to do something. Here, kids ask questions, what? Why should I do this? So it is a huge struggle in raising kids in America.
A lot of them are living with single parents. That single parent is working very long hours to make ends meet here in the United States and also support relatives or other family members in Liberia. So those long hours away from the kids have caused some kids to just raise themselves.
They're trying to transition over here and they see a lot of negative stuff around them and they're so easy to get influenced by that. And, you know, going into drug dealing, going into a lot of, you know, violent stuff.
I saw things I did not like and I just felt if I didn't do something about it, it wouldn't change.
So Rufus did something about it. He started Rosa, a soccer league to keep kids off the streets, and a youth group to help the young immigrants resolve their many issues.
During this time, they take the opportunity to talk to me about pressing problems they have. Some may want to go to college, may need scholarship. Some of these young people may have problems with their girlfriends, fiancé. They may have problems with renting issue, landlord issue. Whatever it is, we find time to talk about that. They may have bitterness, so I'll come in to resolve conflicts, to talk to them, and always remind them about the importance of staying together. We have come together, but we need to stay together.
Oh, Rufus has been a great mentor for me, you know, since I got to America. I got to meet him, and then he kind of, you know, paved the way for, you know, most of the soccer players here, kind of helped them to get on their feet.
A lot of kids from the 90s were in the war, either as fighters or experiencing the war themselves, or being with their parents, trying to survive. So they experienced some of the horror in the war. A lot of them have adjusted. Time heals some of their wounds. They're still working with a lot of anger in them. They were never treated psychologically and not treated for any kind of trauma. I mean, so they just somehow gel down into society and fit into it.
Sometimes I'm confused, you know. I don't even know what to do. I don't know even where to start. But sometimes if I'm in the office, Rufus call me and say, Aaron, come. Talk to me and say, this is life. This is how God wants things to be sometime. Just relax, be yourself, and start new life. So, I mean, Rufus is a lot to me. I don't know even how to explain it. He always give me confidence.
And even as I sit, I'm saying, look, it's time to retire, it's time to even change state. I just can't. I think the job, there's still a little more work to do.
Though Rufus has lived in Staten Island for 18 years, he is one of the many Liberians who hope to one day return home. Many refugees remain emotionally and financially connected to Liberia, supporting family members back home and helping to fund the rebuilding.
I wouldn't know of a Liberian who is not eager to go back to Liberia. I don't know of one, even if they have the worst of problems. Everyone is happy, eager to want to go back to Liberia.
This month, thousands of Staten Island's Liberian refugees were scheduled to be deported, but that's been delayed by the U.S. and Liberian governments as Liberia continues to rebuild its destroyed infrastructure and collapsed economy. In the meantime, Jack and Jacob are working with the Liberian government's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, or TRC, to gather the Staten Islanders' war stories.
One of the main goals is to be able to tell the story, is to establish the truth, is put the pieces together about what happened, to understand What are the things that led to, these civil wars taking place there and this country descending into chaos?
For Jacob and others, the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission may just determine the future of Liberia and whether or not they ever return.
It is my hope that the TRC is a process that will bring justice to Liberia. Without accountability in Liberia, there will be another civil war.
It takes one day to destroy something, but it takes time to rebuild. That's our people. We have no other country. That's all. So we have to let it go. Everybody lost their loved ones. We have to forgive and let it be so.
We close now with a story about a small neighborhood in Brooklyn where a 33-year-old tradition may soon be ending. Latin American food vendors of Red Hook have become a fixture at the soccer fields that attract thousands of people each weekend. But many are worried that the city may shut them down in the spring.
I think this is the best carne asada taco in Brooklyn. I don't think anyone else does carne asada this way, and it's so good and it's so simple and it's so fresh. It's hard not to approach the grill and not get excited about the meat.
Josh KARANT is a food blogger who has been advocating on behalf of the Red Hook vendors.
I came down here one weekend just on a whim, expecting to get a taco, take a few pictures, and cruise out. And I was kind of blown away by what was going on, because you really don't see this stuff in New York City anymore.
The Red Hook Food Vendor started about 30 years ago. It started as a side attraction to some of the soccer ligas that operate in the park.
When the league started to play, the players needed something to eat, but nobody, sell food in this park. So a guy from Guatemala started to sell him, food to the players, and he was the only one.
The original vendors here in Red Hook were actually family members from the soccer place that came about. Of course, 30 years ago, this scene was very isolated, as Red Hook is a very industrial area that was for many decades forgotten. The families of the soccer players came and started bringing their grills and cooking up some foods. That eventually grew into what we see here today.
I've been here selling at the park for 17 years. We started my business with my mother. My mother unfortunately is ill right now, so my father and my family, we continue with the business.
The Red Hook food vendors are basically artisan vendors that hail from all corners of Latin America. They basically bring their home recipes that date back from generation to generation.
I'm hard-pressed to think of any other neighborhood that has this concentration of high-quality food at these prices and this type of diversity. This is basically like half of Central America in 2 blocks.
We have been operating in this park for 33 years. However, this year I was informed that our temporary use authorization permits, also known as TUA, was actually set to be ending indefinitely in favor of a more bidding type process. That, of course, brought an alarm to all the vendors who have operated here for a long time, because then it provides the real probability that this tradition of 30 years may be lost.
This summer also saw a sudden interest by the Department of Health.
There have been 2 solid months that every weekend we've received a visit from DOH inspectors.
I've been here 17 years. Nobody has ever gotten sick, thank God.
Concerned about the way the vendors prepare food, the DOH has asked them to make major changes, including the installation of running water and the preparation of all food at a DOH licensed kitchen. The vendors feel that these new regulations would be prohibitively expensive.
There was also an agreement reached with the Department of Health by which the food vendors and their assistants were asked to take a food protection training, and 99% of the vendors actually passed.
For this year, we're okay. They have promised not to issue any summonses. Next year, I don't know what, it's going to be a whole different, deal.
Red Hook is currently undergoing a redevelopment, or gentrification, as it's also known. And that, of course, has affected everything. With the coming of a gourmet supermarket, Fairway, with the coming of boutiques, shops, and the coming and the opening of IKEA, the largest IKEA in North America, which is due to open next year.
They are for 30 years here, and never they pay attention to the vendors. Never they pay attention to the Latin community. But now what happened is that Red Hook changed a lot. So maybe that the city, they don't want no more Latinos in this area.
When I first started coming here, this neighborhood was very bad. You know, we were very afraid. We would try to, leave very early because they said that, this was not a safe neighborhood. But now, we don't feel that way anymore.
To our advantage is the fact that the people has embraced this affair as a cultural affair. They have, as opposed to rejecting it, they actually have come to take it as part of the vibrancy of Red Hook.
The lines, I used to have only Spanish people. Now it's Americans. We had gotten recognition from everybody, so I like that.
For about 33 years, the food vendors have operated in this very park. It has become part of who they are, part of their culture. Just like the very trees that are here, the vendors have actually settled the roots.
All the vendors would like to be back to Red Hook, and continue selling, our product. But so far, we don't know anything yet. But we are hoping that we're going to be, here, and it's just going to, give us a break.
Well, the vendors have finished cooking their huaraches and tacos for this soccer season, but it will be up to the Parks Department and the Health Department to decide whether they return next spring. And that's it for this edition of New York Voices. For more on this or any other New York Voices program, log on to our website at 13.org. I'm Rafael Firaman. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
New York Voices is made possible by the members of 13. Additional funding by Michael T. Martin and Elise Jaffe and Jeffrey Brown.